Hello, welcome back to Emmy's Pepper Patch. Today I'm going to be uppotting those ceiling habas that we've been following. Remember, ceiling haba means in Filipino long green chili. It's what we make our favorite snack at, lumpia dynamite. Today I'm going to be uppotting those, but also show you how I uppot. I use these 5-inch clear pots so that I can see if it's starting to get root bound, root development. When I get roots to the sides, I can see if they're white, means they're healthy. If they're brown, means there's a problem. They've got plenty of drainage in the bottom. Water flows right out of it. But that also allows, when I bottom water, the water to be wicked up into it. But I've got these, and these work for me. They're sturdy, they're not disposable, and I can reuse them year after year after year. But this is about the perfect size. Once I take them from these 6-inch trays, I put them in here. After here, they can go in the final container. I don't uppot again before I put them outside. But I put them in here, I get them to a certain height of growth level, harden them off, and then they go into the containers outside. But I just wanted to show you how I do this. The procedure for this is very simple. Right now, what I usually do is, and I'm just gonna do one just to show you the procedure for the one. I'm not gonna sit here and do them all and bore everybody. But I'm using my container mix, and I'm gonna be making a video after I do this on how I make my container mix. It basically is a potting soil from Miracle Grow. Again, I'm not an endorser for any product whatsoever, but if you'd like to make me one, we can talk. But it's regular organic potting soil, 1 part, and that's got soil and some peat moss in it. I do a 3/4 part peat moss, and 1 part cow manure compost, and then I put in amendments such as earthworm castings. I do some dolomite, lime to increase the pH level of the soil with the peat moss in it, and then I do my fertilizer mix. Well, so I'll also do a separate video on. Once I get a little bit of dirt in the bottom, I'll tap that down to make sure it stays in. And then I've got from M.I. Gardener, one of my favorite bloggers, and they're up in Michigan. They have a trifecta fertilizer that I put in that I have switched to this season. They've got a 5-10-4, but it's got a lot of the other micronutrients that everything needs. Please go check them out. I'll put a link below the video where you can find M.I. Gardener at his shop. But I just do a little pinch. This has got some fast release and slow release nutrients in it, so doesn't take months to break down. There are some instant fast release nutrients in there that actually help for root development and get some immediate nitrogen in it. I just mix that into the soil here. I do that to give, when the roots when they get down to that point, they can use a boost. And actually, you'll see they'll be a little slower and slower, and they'll grow. And then you can tell when they hit that, because all of a sudden they get height, more leaves, etc. And then I just fill up the container. Again, I'm looking for, sticks, rocks, pieces of bark. This mixture, again, you'll see when I do in the video, has less of that than of the other stuff that I've used in the past. Again, I'm just trying to keep that tamped down a little, not hard where the roots can't use it, because when we put water, and we'll do that in here shortly, you'll see it actually collapse. So it's not just soil I went and dug out of my garden. It's that mixture, and because of the light and fluffy peat moss I've got in it, the soil will collapse. Now, at this point, I will soak this so that the soil from there down is wet. And I was finding that I was usually waiting till I got the actual plant seedling put in here and then doing that, but that was flooding its roots with so much water because I was trying to get this whole thing wet that it would show signs. Now, while that's soaking down, and I'll actually put a little bit more, this just allows from here down, that soil's gonna be wet. I don't have to worry about at this initial stage of making sure the whole pot is moist so that the roots can grab on. While that's doing that, let me show you, I had an instance, they're not as healthy as they could have been. I had an instance where I bottom fed, bottom watered them, and I got called away, got busy my regular day job. I wish this was how I made my money, but unfortunately it's not. And I left them in there too long, and the roots got a little damaged. You can see some of these yellow leaves. That means that the leaves were drowning. But I got them out of the water as soon as I could, and they're gonna recover. It's just, you've got to be very careful about that up front. Even bottom watering, you cannot let your seedlings or any plant set in the water. The roots actually need to breathe. And I know that some people say, well, it's under the earth. It still gets air from under the earth. If the roots are sitting in water, they'll drown. And then eventually what that happens is the plant can't absorb nutrients. The plant will die, but what will happen first is the roots will start to rot and die. So that's what we call, well, it's just overwatering. I can't think of the term right now, forgive me. But it'll absolutely kill the plants. You'll actually drown the plants. So, they've got green leaves, they're healthy, they just had a little incident. All right, as you can see, this is what I was talking about. I don't know how well you can see it, but I put that water in, the middle sunk down about that far. It actually collapsed. Now, I'm not trying to make this solid because the roots can't penetrate that. But that's what I'm saying is, because this isn't just dirt, there's a lot of peat moss in there for moisture retention, etc. It will collapse on itself. So that's one of the reasons why I do that now. That soil won't collapse, but I do have vermiculite, perlite in here to help it condensing into a solid mass. But I just wanted to show you how I pushed it and kind of filled in that hole, but that this soil mixture will collapse when you put water on it. And that's why I water that to begin with. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to get a seed and get a seedling. This is another reason I use these 6-pot trays, is I can squeeze them, and then to get that big hole in the bottom, I can push them out from the bottom. Now, these probably should have went a little longer, but I need to get them outside where they'll really take off. I need to get these in here for a few days, and then I'm going to start hardening them off, because it is April. It's getting towards the end of April now, and I need to get these in their containers out in the real sun, the perfect grow light. So I'm doing this a little earlier than normal, but it's because I want to get them outside. Next week, I'll start getting these out in the sun a little bit to start hardening off. And you'll see, I'll do an update. I mean, it is growing another set of true leaves here, but it's just when you get them out in the sunlight, you may have the best grow lights in the world, but it's nothing compared to when you get them out in the sun. All right, and then I go around and just fill this up. Now, I don't fill it up to the bottom of the leaves. Peppers are not like tomatoes where they'll actually grow roots along the stem. I'll bury these. Again, I'm tapping down because as you saw, that soil will collapse on itself. But now that I got that solid base under it, it won't collapse as much. But what I'm doing is pressing down to make sure the roots get good contact with the soil mixture all the way around, and that I have no exposed root systems. I'm pressing down along the stem to make sure it makes good contact, okay? Then I'm gonna add a little bit more water because that soil we just put in there is dry. Now, if you've never used peat moss and coco coir the same way, it starts out hydrophobic, which means it doesn't like to absorb water. You've got to get it used to water so that it holds on to water. Right now, it's hydrophobic. It's trying to resist the water, but it's slowly absorbing the water. And once it starts absorbing the water, it will retain it. The water, extra water, of course, will drain out the bottom, which is exactly what you want because of the holes, but it will retain water. And now for a few days until probably the rest of this week, I won't have to put any water in this pot. It's got enough. Plus that helps me control the moisture so that the roots have moisture, but they're not drowning. I'll put just a little bit more to make sure that the roots are wet and that peat moss is no longer hydrophobic. Now I've got the tag that I had in my 6L. I'll put it in there and it is now up potted. As you can see how the water is dripping out the bottom, that's what you want. That's why you always use, no matter if they're out of my garden, and all of my peppers, etc., whether they're sweet, bell, hot peppers, I always do containers. I do the cloth containers, even though I am growing some blackberry and blueberry bushes in some 5-gallon buckets that got a lot of drilled holes in the bottom. I'm trying to compare to do because my cloth bags, and then when I transplant these into those bags, I'll do another video. Some of the water can just run out of size because they're cloth. So I'm trying to experiment if I want to go back to plastic so that it forces all the water down and out instead of just out the sides. But I just wanted to show you is you'll see water dripping out of this, and this is exactly what you want. All that excess water now is drowning out, and this plant won't now sit in the water like I did before. But when they're in the tray, of course, I'll bottom water, and the earth will wick it up to the top. That'll be the last time on these until I get them in the container in the garden and we're watering. I just wanted to show you how I up pot. I will try to make a video today, later today or tomorrow, on my soil recipe, my soil mixture. And then the next video, along with my updates, will actually show you how then I up pot these into the final containers. Thank you.